Good morning, Rabotai. Welcome to Breakfast on the Class. Breakfast on the Class and the class today, and this entire week is dedicated by the Torah Center Silver donors of the Daniel S. Loeb Torah Center. Shalom Hazan, loving memory l'nishmatem, Shiri, Ariel, and Kfir Bibas. Alehem HaShalom, Hashem Yinkom Damam. And also for all the Jews who were murdered, Al Kiddush Hashem, Tenishmatam Tzura, B'tzura Hayim, Nikom Le'enen, Nikmatam Avadecha, Hashafuch. 2 weeks of Breakfast on the Class are sponsored by Edward Sofer, Lilunish Matem in loving memory of his parents, Ray and David Sofer, David ben Moshe V'Raima, and Simcha Bat Chana, and for the Refuah Shlema of Elian ben Deborah Sonnenberg. Breakfast on the Class also dedicated loving memory of Nishmat, Daniel ben Chayayara, for his Azkara by his children, Raphael and Yara Shama. The year of Breakfast on the Class is dedicated loving memory of Nishmat Rudolph Farhi Bat Adela, sponsored by our family, and as well, dedicated in honor of Isabella Halem, Rachel Hanabat Yehudit, on becoming Bat Mitzvah this week. May Hashem continue to bless you with goodness and a tremendous Hakarat Atob to Rabbi Farhi for the daily inspiration for changing my life and lives of my children. Thank you, Mana Kahelim, for the Refuah Shlema V'Leah Shlomo Farhi and the continued health for Chana Bat Simafega. The deluxe Breakfast in the Class is dedicated in honor of the birth of a baby girl to Sonia and Jack Sitt, by Betty and Joseph Sitt and Fortune and David Duche. Mabruk, Mazal Tov, Siman Tov, congratulations. Batya Bat Sipora. Okay. Start the day with this kind of joy. Oh, also, we want to wish Mabruk this morning to the Carey and Tebeli families on the marriage of their children, Be'ezrat Hashem, later today. So today is an auspicious day, filled with simcha. It should be filled with simcha for everyone. Let's begin. Please only answer amen if you're listening to this live. Baruch atah Adonai. So I want to share with you a beautiful question. A question that's asked by multiple Rishonim. It's asked by the Ibn Ezra. It's asked as well by the Ramban. And each one maybe kind of deals with it in a little bit of a different way. But I'd like to perhaps, if I could, try and share with you the question and the answer that I saw, and perhaps what we learned from this new or different approach with regards to the Mizbe'ach. We know in Parashat Tetzaveh, we read all about the Mizbe'ach of the earthen Mizbe'ach. We read, which is in the courtyard, the one that's used for the korbanot. We read all about the menorah. We read about the Aron. We read about the shulchan. It tells us exactly how to make everything. But seemingly, we separated one of the kelim, one of the vessels of the temple, from all the other vessels. Ma nishtana hakeli hazeh mikol hakelim. How come this separate keli is brought in its own place, separate from all the other places, all the other kelim? Which, of course, are we talking about? We're talking about the Mizbe'ach HaPenimi, the inner Mizbe'ach, which is the Mizbe'ach of gold. That Mizbe'ach v'asita Mizbe'ach miktar Ketoret, that you bring the Ketoret upon that Mizbe'ach. Why was that one of all the vessels? How come that one is separated out and stuck separate to the other ones which are in Parashat Tetzaveh in its own place? So I want to share with you a beautiful approach. Ramban, I told you, asked this, the Ibn Ezra, but I want to share with you a beautiful approach. And that is that the Meshech Chochmah, he explains a very interesting concept. He says that when it comes to all of the other kelim, if you don't have the kelim, the object that you would do with the vessel is not relevant. It's not there. If you don't have a menorah, as an example, you can't light candles and stick them on a shelf. If you don't have a shulchan, you can't put the bread, somewhere else in a bread basket in the Mishkan. The kelim themselves create the avodah, the work, the service that's necessary to be able to do with them. However, when it comes to the Mizbe'ach itself, to the Mizbe'ach HaKetoret, Kaimalan, we learn, the HaKetoret Niktar, that we bring the Ketoret, Af im en Mizbe'ach, even if there's no Mizbeach. Ukemo de'amar Rav b'zivachim, and like the great sage Rav taught in Tractate Zivachim, page Nuntet, the Mizbeach shene'ekar, if the Mizbeach is removed from its place, maktirin ketoret bimkomo. You bring the ketoret in its place, in the same place where the Mizbeach should have been, but isn't. Ve'eno rak mitzvah. The Mizbeach HaKetoret is only for a mitzvah, which means that's the way it's supposed to be done. But if it's not there, you still could fulfill the mitzvah of Ketoret. Therefore, says the Meshech Chochmah, Ktiv batar deishlim kol adinim. Therefore, it's written after all the kelim, after all the vessels, after all of those, the creation, the binyanim, the building of the Mishkan, hamuchrachim, that if you don't have them, you don't have hashra'at hakavod b'Mishkan, you don't have the presence of God in the place, you don't have the avodah, the service of that object. Ulehorot, it's coming to teach you, the end zeh, rak mitzvah b'fnei atzma. It's a mitzvah, but it is not imperative for the service to be done. My friends, what are we learning from this? We who are not building a Mishkan, we who are not building a Bet HaMikdash. The answer, I think, is something which is very profound. And that is, that although the Mishnah tells us in Masechet Avot, a person should have mitzvah kala kiba hamura. A person should be careful with a small mitzvah like a heavy one. And we explained already why the Mishnah answers, because you don't know what sachar, what reward you're going to get for that mitzvah in Shamayim. You have people, they'll tell you, this big mitzvah. What does it mean, big mitzvah? What does that mean? What's a small mitzvah? What's a tiny mitzvah? What's a giant mitzvah? All mitzvot are big. You know why? Because they were given to us by God, about whom it says, Hagadol. If the big one gave you a mitzvah, whatever it is, all mitzvot are big. Says the Mishnah, you don't know matan secharan. You don't know their reward. God didn't reveal to you. He didn't give you a spreadsheet with a price list. This one, you get this. That one, you get the other thing. There's only 2 mitzvot in the whole Torah that it gives you matan sechara b'tzidah. It tells you exactly what it's going to be, what the sachar is for that mitzvah. One is honoring your parents. One is shiloh haken. Leman, in order, yarichun yamecha. It tells you should have long life. Our rabbis tell us that long life is actually referring to the world to come. So all mitzvot practically, except for these 2, and there's a whole question as to why these 2 are the outliers, are not given a reward to tell you that all mitzvot are giant. Still, even though that's the case, there are mitzvot without which a person cannot do the avodah in the Mishkan. So let me give you a crazy scenario. I want you to imagine that Moshe Rabbeinu goes around to collect money for the Mishkan, and he doesn't have enough gold to do everything. Now, that did not happen. In fact, they had so much that they had to tell Moshe, had to tell the people, stop giving. You know, a lot of things in the Torah are very difficult to understand. But there's no portion of the Torah that's more difficult for a rabbi to understand than the portion where it says that Moshe had to tell the people, stop giving tzedakah, you're giving too much. Stop supporting the synagogue. We have too much money. The bank called us, they don't have enough room for all the money we're putting in it. They're worried about losing the FDIC insured, right? Because it's just too much money. No rabbi could ever understand. No one has ever experienced that. And yet, I'm asking you to imagine a scenario that Moshe Rabbeinu did not get all that money. Imagine he had a smaller amount of gold. What would he have cut? The menorah, the Aron, Shulchan. You can't. For all of those, if they're not there, you have no other etzah. You can't do the work of the Mishkan. You can't have God's presence there through the service that's supposed to be done. But when it comes to the Mizbe'ach HaKetoret, that one was for the mitzvah. That's what the Meshech Chochmah just communicated to us. That's what he just taught us. My friends, we're learning here something I think which is very important. You never treat a mitzvah as if it's unimportant. You never say, I have this mitzvah, that mitzvah, I'm only going to do this one. But what happens when a person has to make a choice? And I know that doesn't sound all that likely, but Baruch Hashem, we're such a spoiled generation. You know, we could have multiple pairs of shoes. Wow. We don't only have one shirt. Wow. Spoiled, right? But there are times when a person has only the resources to be able to do one mitzvah. Let's say, as an example, a person has a certain amount of money, and there's different mitzvot in front of him. He could only afford to do one of them. What should he do? So that doesn't mean that I'm making or I'm looking at one mitzvah as if it's more or less important. I have to make a choice. And in those scenarios, I think we face this moment of Moshe Rabbeinu. These mitzvot are essential for practice, for becoming, for sacrificing, for doing avodah. And this one, it's an extra. The Torah commanded it, I have to do it, but if I can't, what would I do? I would still bring the Ketoret in the spot that the Mizbe'ach would have stood. My friends, I believe that that is something that it is an imperative part of understanding your service in this world. I gave you an example because I didn't want to get uncomfortable right away. But let's get uncomfortable. Be'ezrat Hashem, every person listening to this recording, whether here, abroad, wherever you are, you're in a situation where you never have to choose between two things because you have enough money for all. You never have to choose between mitzvot. But my friends, we have a different resource that is finite no matter how rich you are. And that resource is called time. Now, I'm sitting here opposite a book called the Torah. In it are uncountable mitzvot. Now, some mitzvot come my way once in a while, and I have to do them because there's a time-passing window. So as an example, I just bought a house. As an example, I got to put up a fence around the roof. Makeh. I just had a son. I have to do a brit milah, right? On my son, big mitzvah, right? I got married. I have an obligation to make my wife happy. Those are mitzvot that are right now, so therefore they need to be fulfilled. However, there are mitzvot that their time does not pass. So I'm sitting at home. I have from now until, let's say I go to bed at 10:30. That's an example. I don't know when last time I went to bed at 10:30 in my life was. But either way, let's say I have until 10:30. I could call my parents and do the mitzvah of kibud avayim. I could call that person who needs to be lifted up. It's an act of chesed, of kindness. You know, talk to them. They lost their job. Maybe their family broke apart. They need some encouragement. Beautiful mitzvah. The other guy needs money. The other person, they're trying to build a yeshiva. So there's limitless mitzvot, infinite possibilities in front of me at all times. Now, people don't think this way unless you're trained to think this way. People think there's a mitzvah, it comes to me, I dispatch with mitzvot that come my way, right? But that's not how you do business. That's how you do business. You go to shul in the morning, eat breakfast, you read the paper. If someone comes up to me, if someone offers me something, I'll look into the opportunity. But no one does that. You go to the office, you're looking for opportunities to be able to make money. When a person sees the Torah correctly, they're looking for opportunities to do mitzvot. I want to find someone. It was recently, someone needed to borrow some money. Whatever the reason was, they needed to borrow a certain amount of money. Okay. Called me up, he said, do you know anybody? I said, I don't actually know anybody that lends money like a gemach personally. I'm sure there's other people that do, but that's not something. All of a sudden I remembered that there was once a case that someone gave us money to lend to somebody through the synagogue. He wanted, the person shouldn't be aware it was coming from him. so you shouldn't be embarrassed. So they gave us a certain amount of money, and we lent it to this guy on behalf of this guy without telling him. When it came time to pay back, the guy paid back the money. I came back to give the guy the money back that he gave us in the first place. He said, you know what, give me half, leave the other half in. So you could lend out the money, of course, with the proper controls, with someone who's signing, guarantor that if they don't have the money on a certain date, they'll pay the amount in full, certain controls. But either way, I completely forgot that money was back sitting ring-fenced in the account, in a tzedakah account of Chazak. And you know what the amount was? Exactly the amount that he asked to borrow. Amazing. You know what a mitzvah is? To lend a Jewish person money? To help them get off their feet? Right? Pasuk says, not only you should do it, the Pasuk says, don't be stingy. Don't be worried in the year of Shemitah that you're not going to get paid back because of Shemitat Ksafim. So, there are infinite mitzvot sitting in front of me at all times. You just have to go look for them, right? If anyone is bored and you don't have mitzvot coming your way all the time, let me know. I'll hook you up. David Ash, God bless him. David E. Ash. 2 days ago, did an event called Donate Your Time. And the idea is they do a social event, and people come, and they have 7 or 8 different charities sitting there that need volunteers to go visit sick people or older people in the hospital, to help with Belev Echad, with soldiers that are injured, to help with next step, what's it called, there's people that need prosthetics, so they're helping arrange runs and bike rides to be able to raise money, to buy those prosthetics, to give a limb back to an Israeli soldier that lost it in this terrible war. Beautiful tzedakot. People are donating their time. There's always infinite mitzvot sitting right in front of me. Here's the point I'd love for you to understand. There are mitzvot that have to come first. Not because they're bigger mitzvot or smaller mitzvot, because there's no such thing. But because certain mitzvot are necessary for your avodah. I'm going to quote to you a Gemara with a beautiful, beautiful interpretation from the Rishonim. The Gemara says, quotes the Pasuk, when you will see, when kitireh, chamor sonacha, you will see the hamor, the donkey, of a person you hate. Okay? Asks the Mefarshim, what do you mean? Who's this person you hate? I thought the Torah says, ve'ahavta re'acha kamocha. You have to love every Jew. Answers the Mefarshim, who are we talking about? A person that you have a right to hate. Who's such a rasha, who's doing such terrible things to hurt the people, the community, you're allowed to hate him. Says the Pasuk, that guy, you have to help pick up his donkey. Ask the Mefarshim, what happens if today is donkey falling day? You don't think that lightning strikes twice, but I remember once I did a wedding, and the mother of the groom fainted under the chuppah. Said, calling Hatzala. 2 seconds later, a minute later, the mother of the bride fainted. 2 in 1, BOGO. Happens. Today is a day where donkeys are slipping left, right, and center. You have 2 donkeys on the floor. First donkey is the donkey of your friend. Second donkey is the donkey of your sonacha, of your enemy, the one you hate. I mean, I'm going to ask you a question you've never been asked in your life. Which donkey do you help first? I think in Hebrew it translates a little bit better, and people have said that in their life. Which hamor should I help first? That we've said, but, right? You know what the Mefarshim answer? You have to help the one, I think you guessed it already, didn't you? I thought you were guessing it then. The halakha is you have to help the one, the hamor of the one you hate. Comes first. Why? Because in helping him, Overcoming Yetzer Hara. In helping him, maybe you're helping him not decide to be a Rasha. Oh, you've helped donkeys before, have you? I've always imagined by that must be like the serious deadlift right there, right? If you've not been in the gym doing squats, doing deadlifts, how you lift a donkey that's falling down, loaded with stuff? I feel like that's a heavy lift. Yeah, only with my left arm now. I broke my elbow. Okay, guys. Sonacha. What'd you say? Because it helps you work on Yetzer Hara. Of course, all mitzvot are mitzvot. But there's certain mitzvot that you need to be doing more. You know why? Because your avodah is in that mitzvah. So imagine you walk into a gym, and I used to get this question all the time. People would ask me, Rabbi, I'm doing teshuvah. I just started becoming more religious. Where do I start? I want to be more serious. Barminan, people have an accident. Something's going wrong. A fire is lit. They come to the table. They're like, okay, yalla, let's go. What are we doing? What do I do first? So I always give them this example. Imagine you walked into a gym. You have all the machines. You go to the trainer. You tell him, I need to work out. Look at me. I look like a string bean. Okay? I need to get healthy. I need to be strong. I need to have stamina. What do I do? What's the guy going to do? Trainer's going to look at you. He's going to say, well, your arms are a little scrawny. And it looks like you don't even know what leg day is. Never mind skipping it. Bro, do you even lift? And I'm going to work on the items that I'm weakest on, right? There's a lot of times where the Yetzer Hara tries to convince you, instead of doing a mitzvah, to do a sin. Come on, we're going to do that. Let's do this. We're going to go there, kosher. Let's go here. Not only is he taking the mitzvah from you with the berachot that you could make on kosher food, he's taking you a non-kosher place. Now you can't make berachot because it's tarif. Now how to make a berachah on tarif, right? Something's not kosher. So he's not only giving you, taking a mitzvah, giving you a sin. That's a harder job for the Yetzer Hara. You know why? Because all your spidey senses go, and you're like, oh, 1 second. I see what you're doing here. You know what's a much scarier Yetzer Hara? When the Yetzer Hara tries to take a mitzvah from you and swap it with another mitzvah. Now that doesn't sound like the Yetzer Hara, does it? But actually, it's just a more clever Yetzer Hara. Imagine, as an example, you're in a lawsuit and you're trying to claw back some of the money that the guy is. So what do? You tell him, walk away with nothing. What's he going to do? He's not going to react to that. The smartest thing to do is to give him something that he'll be happy with, small item, and take something that's more important in this deal, right? That's the art of negotiation. The Yetzer Hara is so clever. He knows if he tells you, let's not go to shul, instead, let's go bow down to an idol. You're probably not going to do that. But you know what he tells you? He says, listen, let's not go to shul. Let's stay home and help my wife. Because you see how he tries to make the alternative. Now, some of you are thinking, isn't that a nice thing? Stay home for your wife? Yeah, but when you were supposed to go to the gym, you didn't say you want to stay home with your wife. When you're supposed to go out with your friends, you didn't say I should stay home and help my wife. Only when it comes to praying? Like only now? You're a tzaddik with a shalom bayit expertise? Yeah? The Yetzer Hara's greatest trick is to swap not a mitzvah for an avera, is to swap a mitzvah that you should be doing right now for a mitzvah that you should not be doing. Now, if anyone ever wants to feel what this is like, I want you to think back to that one thing in your office that you hate more than life itself. Anyone have an item that they hate doing? Taxes. Doing taxes. Shema Yisrael. I would rather pour acid in my eye than have to go back and find some receipt and understand where that came from. Oh, things you don't want to do. But you have to do them. You got to do them. Right? You got to do them. My friends, what do you do when there's something you don't want to do? You find every other productive thing that you could do. You ever notice that people, when there's something they don't want to do, they have a phone call they don't want to make, all of a sudden they're cleaning up their desk. You You ever notice when you start doing that? You're arranging papers, you're moving the tape over there, the stapler needs to be. When did you become Martha Stewart? The answer is, right now I don't want to do this. I'll do anything except for this. The Yetzer Hara knows that about you. So you know what he gives you? When there's a mitzvah that you need. When your biggest problem in life is that you have a temper. It colors all of your decisions. It makes you an angry person. It makes you not forgive. It makes you speak not nicely to people. It makes you talk lashon hara. It makes you not give tzedakah because the rabbi said it the wrong way. I'm angry at him. It makes you angry at your parents. You don't do kibbud avayim. If you traced back the source of most of your problems in your life, what would it be? Your anger. The Yetzer Hara will let you do every mitzvah in the book except for work on your anger. That's what the Meshech Chochmah is teaching us. The Torah separated the Mizbe'ach HaKetoret. It put it somewhere else. You know why? Because that mitzvah, if I don't have it, I could still do the mitzvah. That one is different than these. And it is important for every person to understand what their game plan is. So in work, as an example, or in finances, that's how it works. A person knows, what do I need to do in Q3? In Q3, we need to focus on acquisitions. You know why? Because the other thing's not good right now. To do the other thing right now. Right now, the interest rate is low. We need to refinance. Imagine spending the time when you have an opportunity to refinance at a good, you know what, right now I'm going to go out and buy buildings. Right now I'm going to go out and do, that might not be the smartest thing right now to do, because you don't have the cash flow. So everything has its time. And in order to be able to function as a business, you have to know when to do what. Is that correct? That's what we're learning from the Meshech Chochmah. I'm sure you could give us better examples than the ones I used. But my friends, this concept is I think the hallmark of a person who's serious about growth. Make yourself a list. There's 613 mitzvot. You know what you probably shouldn't be doing right now? 612 of them. Because it's that 613th one that's your item, that without that mitzvah, without that, there's no service. No connection. The Shekhinah is not coming down. The service is impossible. You know why? Because that's my one. I don't know how to advise you to find it, but I do know one trick. And that one trick is the trick I call the perfect pill. Now, SPH would love for me to tell you at this juncture, and Safe and Simcha, that you should never be taking any pills unless they were prescribed and given to you by a correct pharmacy, a correct place, because otherwise, odds are it's laced with fentanyl. Na 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 na. Hey you, goodbye. Be careful. That's what they like me to tell you. But my perfect pill has no fentanyl in it. You know how you know? Because it's called the perfect. The perfect pill, this is what it does. The perfect pill, you can take the pill, and as soon as you take it, it changes one thing about you. You know, sometimes you get the little pill box, sometimes you need a big one. Some people need, they need the creatine size, the protein shake size bottle, the Costco size perfect pill box. But imagine you could take a pill, and you didn't have a whole box of them. You didn't have, the guy was running out, the bookie, the dealer. All he had was one. You ready for this? You take the perfect pill, and one thing about you changes, and you get to decide what that is. If you're unsure what that one thing about you that really needs to change is, ask your wife. She already knows. Are you with me? That one thing is the mitzvah you start with. The thing that deals with that one thing, because that's your biggest challenge in life. We're learning from the Meshech Chochmah this idea. And I think a thinking Jew understands that if the purpose of Torah is to change, I could change a lot of things. But imagine a guy who's 500 pounds, who has all sorts of health problems, and who has some money in his pocket, and then goes and gets a nose job. I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I'm saying you should have spent it on Ozempic. I'm just saying you should have spent it on something else. Our time is our most limited resource. They once asked the Baba of Rebbe, how come there's a custom to give a chatan a very expensive watch? Used to be a gold watch, then it became in fancy places a Rolex or whatever. I don't know what the fanciest watch is anymore. Jacob & Co., right? Different fancy. Why of all things, why you get him a fancy watch? You know what the answer is? To teach a person who's starting a family and building a home, the most important and precious thing he has is his time. So my friends, our most important and precious thing we have is our time. What am I doing with my time to become a better person? Which mitzvah am I doing? And which mitzvot are a super clever distraction from the Yetzer Hara so that I don't do the mitzvot that I really need to be doing. Baruch Adonai Le'olam, Amen ve'amen. Rabbi Chananya ben Akasha Omer, V'tzah HaKadosh Baruch Hu Zgot Yisrael, Lefi Kabbalah Torah Tzah Shemar, V'gam Hafetz Aman Tzekoi Yagdil Torah ve'adir.